We're back in my house, we're at the start of the FMTV706 module, and I decided I'm going to make a little series out of these videos. I did one about just the actual process of turning my book into a script. Now we're going from first draft to final draft, and then I think we might go for a stage where I actually try and pitch the script. We'll see how it goes. But for now, drafting. Very fun, very fun. I actually don't mind drafting because I have a lot of drafting experience on like my book writing processes, so this isn't something that's unfamiliar for me. But at the stage right now, the first draft is complete. It's what I said, I think I said in the last video, that this is the first draft I'm going to set aside as like the official book adaptation script, and then everything from this point onwards is just for the uni project. So more changes, more making it, I guess, independent, more for what uni lecturers in particular want for this hand-in. I think we're a couple weeks in, so I've had a few meetings with my lecturer about the script so far. Basically, she loves the characters, says that it's a very original storyline, it's unique, but the things that we have to work on are mostly making the narrative work, because the flow of a traditional film is different to you get a lot more freedom with books. So it's about making narratives work. The big thing I have to do at the moment is introduce, well, first of all, clear difference between character wants and character needs, and introduce the needs earlier on, more naturally throughout, because I have a tendency, I guess, to drag things, leave you in suspense, keep things hidden, which is not what we want for a film script. And then what was it? Characters' needs. Also, finding the difference between my film voice and my novel voice, and just making the script work as a script, for sense of formatting. And there's a lot of places where I've said this person thinks and this person feels and this person remembers. That's how scripts work. You meant to be working in visual language, so you can't say that someone feels, you have to show how they feel. And you can't say that they're thinking about something or remembering something. You've got to actually, I guess, they remember something. Instead of remembering something, they have flashes of a vision, a visual, and remembering. We can do flashbacks, but I can't just say, oh, they remember this. We have to actually find a way of showing that. So that's the big thing I'm working on right now. The one big change I made from the book into the script was, instead of having August flashback scenes spread out throughout, I had them like in a compilation at the end. But now I think that I'm going to go back to having them spread throughout, because that displays the character needs storyline a bit better. So yeah, we're basically making the narrative work right now. They're the big changes that are going on that I think at some point after I submit this draft, we'll see what we're going to do in the next stage. I decided I want to go through the feedback for my first draft in a little more detail, so I can pull up screenshots of my lecturer's email and just talk it through. So I think documenting this process, at least for me, is very good. I hope other people find interest in it. And also, as my lecturer is a script editor and script writer, and I'm obsessed with her, I want to provide detail, as there's not a huge amount to actually talk about progress-wise compared to my last updates, my last videos. So yeah, we're going for all the thorough, boring stuff. So here we are on my lovely iPad. This feedback's separated into like two sections. The first one is like general queries, questions, things that I asked specifically about, again, about like formatting and the structure of the script itself. And then our focus for going into the second draft was making the narrative work. So the next set of feedback is about making the narrative work. But to start with, the first thing she said is, does it have to be called Paper Forests? Because that's the title of the book, and as I was originally pitching this as a book adaptation, it made sense for the title to be the same, but as I am now selling my soul to the university, I'm open to changes. Because we also mentioned it briefly in our meeting today, of like, she feels like it's underselling the narrative. And again, I have no better ideas for what I could name it, which is something I'll be talking about in an in-person crit with all my lovely colleagues, my cohort. So yeah, she said Paper Forest sounds two-dimensional, it's hard for audience to get a sense of the film, which, sure, I agree. But then I'm conflicted, because from, again, the book adaptation standpoint is that you want the names to be the same so you know what it is, but again, my book doesn't have enough clout for that to be relevant. Number two is I wrote a lot of this person thinks, this person feels, this person remembers, which we're raising all of, because I'm getting out of my novel writing mindset and into my script writing mindset. Number three is formatting, because I, again, formatted it vaguely similar to a novel, as in like double spacing, that kind of thing. Apparently a script can be single spacing, which means my script went from 124 pages down to 93, so now it is well within a page count of 80 to 120. Next point is trimming descriptions and focusing on what can actually be seen on screen rather than making it poetic, descriptive, beautiful. Again, that's a novel writer to screenwriter thing. And these long descriptions take too long to read. We've got to make it concise, clear, get to the point rather than, but I love writing description. But again, we're switching those mindsets. And the fifth point for this first section of feedback is, again, every location needs to be under a separate scene heading. But when I was writing scenes of characters transitioning from one location to another, there's a scene where they start off in a ravine, they go into a tunnel, and then they go into a cave, which I think I have listed all under as exterior ravine, sublocation cave, dusk or something. But this needs to be separated into 3 separate scenes rather than one big scene. That again is a point of these locations are huge, so we have to again make it clear and concise. Okay, so into my narrative feedback. The first point is she's wrote to read one of the better quality how to write a screenplay books. I have read many. I have read so many books, too many books, to the point where my brain is overflowing with everyone at once's opinion. So I need to work on getting rid of that and focusing on something else. So I'm focusing on what she told me specifically. And she's observed in my scripts that each obstacle that my characters encounter are pretty much the same level of threat until the very end. So her example is about each obstacle needs to increase the jeopardy is, for example, a stone is thrown at the character, and then an arrow, and then a machine gun, and then a cannon, and then a bomb. So each threat has to work up, like increase the stakes each time. Which, yeah, makes sense. But I had a slight disagreement because I think that I have done that, but I guess not to the extremity level that works for an audience. So we're going to work on that. Next point is the characters. She said that their relationship is very touching and genuinely moving, which means so much coming from this woman. But they start and end the story in pretty much the same place emotionally. So, which comes into our third point of character wants and needs and stating them as clearly as possible and how it affects the protagonists. So again, it's a thing of a sense of this makes sense in my head because I wrote the book, I know what's going on, and it's how I can interpret what I know and actually getting it out onto the page. Which again makes sense to me. Whether it makes sense to anyone else, we'll see. But yeah, that is all the feedback for this. She's ended her email with a comment saying this is so original, and again, love. So yeah, we're still in a very pretty good place. I'm making every single one of these changes for draft 2, and I think there will be the point where I start distributing the script to readers and being like, hey, what like little things can I work on? And then to a point, I think that third draft will be good enough in a sense for the grade. I might do one more draft and then we will work out on industry things. But yeah, that's everything that's going to be happening for draft 2. Okay, it is now draft 3 time, and I think we are 2 weeks away from the deadline. I feel like I'm getting to like a very last minute trying to get everything done point because life. That's honestly just how things happen here. I have nothing else to add to that. It's just very busy, very sickly. No time to dedicate my life to my son. So for draft 2, I applied all the things suggested, and for draft 3, the big thing that I'm thinking about, other than this is the point where, even in book drafting, it's very similar, where you move on from developmental edits, which is like the big making the narrative work, the big structural things, into line edits, which is pretty much going line by line and making changes, so like dialogue choices, word choices, continuity, all those little things. So in addition to doing line edits, where mine is also going to be a lot of going through and putting in the dialogue changes or character wants and needs, we don't have to actually do it, but the thing that I've been thinking about is my opening scene right? And I had a crit last week, so I went into uni in person with some of my colleagues, my peers, and some of the lecturers, and I said, hey, just wondering, as how the opening scene is at the moment, it is the same as it is in the book because I like how this works, is we have the parents of all the characters who are trapped in the forest like sitting around in a kind of group grief counselling situation and just discussing, you know, introducing the characters in the sense of here's my kid, here's why they have gone, and we are very sad about it. And then the scene ends with the grief counsellor saying like, let me tell you a little story. Let me tell you a little story. And then what's going on in the forest is pretty much the little story. But he frames it out like, yeah, I imagine your kids are in a lovely, wonderful place. They are happy, they are healthy, they will come back to you one day. And then it's like almost immediately cuts to someone getting wrecked by a monster, which I think is very fun. So yeah, I like the opening scene how it is, because it can introduce what is happening to the characters in the forest without having us go straight to the characters and them having to wake up on day one and working out what's going on. The same as, like, you know, a character waking up to their alarm and having to get ready for the day, is that kind of thing. So I like how it is, because we can introduce that context without wasting time on establishing what's going on, because that could take a while, especially when the characters are waking up in a location where they know nothing about and also have no way to learn anything about. So I thought, yeah, I'm having doubts about this scene just because the settings and the contexts are so different. The therapy counselling scene is what establishes as a contemporary fantasy in a sense, rather than like a full high fantasy, as we do return to the real world at some points. So I was wondering, like, if a viewer picked up this film, if they hit play on Netflix and they saw this counselling scene and it wasn't what the rest of the film is promoting, would they still be interested in a sense? And the overall consensus from lecturers was like, yeah, cut straight to the action. And eventually I appreciate their feedback, like, you know, I'm listening. I don't want to do that. Because this book and the script and pretty much everything I do is basically founded on a like classic fairy tale structure. And this book has been praised up here by the Book Life Prize for having these classic fantasy elements. So in many classic fantasies, think of like a lot of Disney films as well, the opening scene, let's go for Frozen. The opening scene has the people cutting the ice, which is not to do with the rest of the plot, the princesses, the ice magic. It is just ice. And there are a number of other films, I'm trying to think. It might be Tangled, where it opens with the baby princess and the flower gleaming glow. And then it cuts to full-grown princess. Those classic fairy tale where it's like, let's introduce this thing because we have no like other way of addressing it other than a flashback scene, which is why I like this. But I have explained many a time now to my lecturers about this classic fairy tale thing, and they're missing out on the classic fairy tale and going straight to fantasy. They're thinking about all the big fantasy films they know. So like, yeah, cut straight to the action. And they start recommending all these like big films, and they go, okay, this is not, and they introduce it as, hey, this might not be relevant to your film, but, and I'm sat there like, smile and wave, guys, smile and wave. So yeah, I've received feedback from the opening scene. I spoke to my personal tutor today about this, and she said, yeah, you can kind of keep it how it is, but maybe we rework the scene to be slightly less telly, more emotional. And I thought, yes, in a summary, yes. And I thought, yeah, that works for me a lot better than these lecturers who know very little. And I know it's like my fault, context, university fault, that they do not have the same level of detail about my script and everyone else. But I thought, yes, thank you, Jane, for this, for comforting me of like, yeah, I can kind of keep my fairy tale structure, but I can still make it work for screen a lot more than how this worked for book. And that is the big thing going on right now. Next week we have another in-person crit where I'm going to be talking about my essay part rather than the script part, because this final draft, I say final draft, it's the third draft. For the sake of this uni project, it will be the final draft. But if we go into trying to pitch to get agents and seeing how far we can truly take this film, the third draft is very much not the final draft, not by far. I think it's like minimum 10 fully worked through drafts to make it even good enough to start pitching to an agent. But for the sake of the project, this is the final draft, and I'll update you next week with any more final thoughts. My sleeves are different. That's annoying. But I'll update you next week of how things are going and where to progress from here. But until then, we're trying to make a fairy tale. I kind of feel like I'm in a weird limbo right now because the deadline for this project is tomorrow, but I've had to get a 2-week extension because work. I never thought I would cave to retail, but work has taken up so much of my time that I just can't at the moment, which is very unfortunate because I wanted this to be done and out of the way and handed in and able to get feedback on, but it's not. So I have an extra 2 weeks where I'm like, oh, okay, like deadline's passed, but it's not for me, and I'm just like, oh, what am I doing now? So I decided I am not using this extra 2 weeks to make like significant improvements or changes to the script. I'm sticking to exactly what I planned ahead of time, because that for me seems fair, and I'm using the extra time to finish my original plan, to not make a new plan, you know, in a sense. So I think the last thing I did was put all of the flashback scenes in place. So structurally, narratively, that part of the script is done, in my opinion. I hope so. At least for this project. So the final part of the actual script part for me is I need to go back to the flashback scenes because they're very focused on August's best friend. And I realised that as I've also removed like a big backstory monologue that's a bit too info dumpy from the script and it doesn't translate well to screen anyway, I need to go back and add into these flashback scenes little hints about this backstory because I don't want it to be explicit in the sense in the screen. I want it to be just heavily implied and open to interpretation. I want the viewer to look at it and think, oh, that relates to me, rather than just straight up telling you, here's what happened, this is what happened here, here's what happened there. So you want to go back and like, not really Easter egg, and that seems too like fun for what this is, but just go back and like drop little hints of what's going on. I think that is really the only update I have to the actual script plan because I don't have time to make fun changes. I've accepted that this is the point it's at, it's going to stay at this point, and now I'm just going to finalise what I have, submit it, and then in the next update, like I have nothing else to say, so the next update definitely will be after submission. I'll have my grade back, I'll tell you all about it. Yes. Today is results day for my script project and I was going to be all cute and like open my results on camera, see that natural reaction, but I was so stressed at the thought of failure that I did not, and I've already opened it and good to announce, did not fail. Yeah, with this project I was so confident in it and I enjoyed it so much and it meant, again, so much to me. I was like, okay, this could go either very well or very badly, which is why I was stressing about it so much. But logically, I know I'm good at this, so it should go well, and it did. I got a first, I got, I think, 73%, which brings my average for the year to 66.7%, which is a high-ish 2-1, and proof that we should abolish essay modules because they're what brought my grade down. Which is kind of, I guess, ironic in a sense because I'm a writer who can't write. This module was based off of 4 learning outcomes. So we have process, innovation, industry, and collaboration. So that's what my feedback has been broken down into. So let's rest my knee here for a bit of support and let's go through it. So areas to commend. For process, we have a powerful, vivid, imaginative, original rendition of the Overcoming the Monster rites of passage story with a thoroughly convincing sense of place, story world, and well-rounded 3-dimensional characters. A well-organised process throughout where you've augmented your natural gift for writing with relevant and useful watching, reading, and peer group critiquing. Your handling of the emotions, thoughts, and ideas of each of your characters is particularly deft. I haven't actually read the feedback yet. I opened it, I looked at my grade, and I thought, yes. So yeah, now I'm like, okay. Let's find out, is it my actual tutor module leader is the one who marked this. So it means a lot more coming from her because as I have expressed, I am obsessed with this woman. So for innovation, we got highly original and innovative throughout, both in the large scale, the array of antagonists so visceral and in the detail, such as Oliver's memory of wiping sugar water on his arm to attract butterflies are both beautiful and moving. That scene where it talks about the butterflies in the sugar water is very special to me. It's what I refer to as the can I trade you a bad memory for a good one bit, because this entire, in the book it's a chapter or like a scene from a chapter, but that bit means so much to me, so I'm glad someone else likes it and doesn't think it's like unnecessary to the story. So for industry, you've sourced useful works to inform your work and industry information to take forward. You've been entirely professional and scholarly throughout, most notably of producing your screenplay of such ambition in a timely fashion. Thank you, Jane. I think out of the other script writing people, a lot of them went for more like contemporary realism. I was going to say normal, but you can have some weird shit going on in contemporary realism and like literary kind of stuff. So I know that fantasy is very ambitious, but I think I thrive in imaginative, fantastical writing, so this comes naturally to me. And I admire all the people who write anything else because I cannot do that. So, collaboration. You've reached out to your peer group to solicit and you're able to process and apply notes you've been given. You've worked sensibly and positively through each script draft and you've gamely pitched your idea during crits, which is not easy considering the complex nature of your story. Yeah, I really struggled when we had to go stand up in front of people and present the script because with, first of all, not good at public speaking, extreme social anxiety. which is why I make videos to kind of work on my talking skills. But it's very hard for me to try and explain every single thing that happens in a fantasy with loads of side plots and none of it's based in reality, and it's hard to give context when you haven't read it yourself, in a sense. It's like, I tried my best, and that's all that matters. I wasn't even trying to do good, I was just there to get through it in the crits. Okay, so let's go into areas to improve. I'm going to say right now, I know in areas to improve, there were the two big things I was concerned about is that Jane recommended for me, in terms of points of conflict in the script, was that each moment of conflict should be bigger than the last, where it was something like an arrow and a bullet and a grenade and that example thing. And I ultimately decided not to do that, because I think it would have been a lot of work at the point where I was in the script, where I was like, there's going to have to be so many changes, and I want it to still be true to the book in a sense. But then I started watching more films and I realised that, oh yeah, most of these don't do that. So I thought, this is not a set in stone thing. If there's an issue with it, if Jane has an issue, I will argue it with my new examples. But I thought, I'm going to say, stay true to myself on that one. And the other big concern I had was the essay, is that I was, for the first time ever, actually hit the maximum band for the word count, and there was still so much I wanted to write about. Mostly about picking writers in the genre and showing off their evolution in a sense. There's so many authors here that I can pick from examples of hey, this person wrote this book, here's how it became a script, that kind of thing. So there's a lot of things there that I was like, I need to talk about more, and then I just couldn't because I ran out of words. Because I had so much I wanted to say, because again, very passionate about the script. So let's see what Jane thought I actually had to improve on. Establish the real world for a little longer. Right at the start of your film, give your audience time to absorb and process your setup. It is beautifully sad throughout. Can you squeeze in a little more humour and playfulness? All their encounters with antagonists need unifying through a collective theme. In Pan's Labyrinth, all the monsters represent a fascism. What do yours? You make very valid points, Jane. I think in one of the earlier drafts, the real world was established longer, and then I was told to change my opening scene. So I guess I did not. I changed it, and then, things changed. She makes very valid points of unifying theme through antagonists. I did not realise that all the monsters in Pan's Labyrinth represented fascism. But I think all the monsters that I have going on in here, I keep pointing here. There's a book there. I don't remember where my other copies are. All the monsters are some kind of twisted childhood imagination. But again, I can't make that. I could make that clear. Let's stop making excuses. There's a way I can make it clear. I just didn't feel like it. So LO2 innovation. Change the title. I don't want to. Change the title. It doesn't do your script justice. Keep trimming the stage directions and descriptions. They're still too long for a screenplay. Read some screenplays to see how they achieve this. The issue is that I read the Pan's Labyrinth screenplay, which is very lengthy in scene descriptions, and that's why I liked it. And I love how people keep saying change the title, and please, give me title recommendations. And again, the thing of, I don't want to change the title because it's a book. And it makes no sense to me to change the title. Except I believe the Half Bad book has a show adaptation on Netflix where they change it to Half Bad, and then it's got a long subtitle, which is what the people refer to the show as. But I can't remember right now because it's too long. Okay, and in industry, she's put, charts the progress of screenwriters who write in this genre, see their screen credits before they got their big break. How can you emulate? Be realistic, this is a marathon, not a sprint. Consider the competition, who's emerging, what they're working on, and what's your competitive strategy. If 36% of adults would rather stream than go to cinema, that means 64% would rather go to cinema. I wouldn't dismiss this option. Very valid points, Jane. And in collaboration, evidence your collaborations with quotes, reach out to writers of the same genre, start building a portfolio of ideas to attract an agent. I am trying to start building a portfolio of ideas, Jane. I wrote a whole paragraph about it. Oh, we've got a second marker. So the second marker, who is this? Mary. She is the documentary specialist, I believe. She's put, include a couple thoughts on the right director. Yeah, if I had more words, I would have gone through and wrote an entire, here's my dream director, here's my dream producer, here's all my cast, my cinematographer, my sound designer, everything. Because I have a vision. It's a very expensive vision. And then number your script pages and put the draft number on your top sheet. My script pages are numbered, but the draft number is not on my top sheet. You are... Okay. there's little things like that I didn't realise I was supposed to do. I still am not fully sure how to format a script. And then when it comes down to this feedback table, it's like, look, I got all, you can't see that, I got all top grades. Just, so distinction is 70 to 100%. So I got a low top grade, but I got a top grade. And I don't think I've ever met anyone on a course who's had a high top grade, because that is, again, like a very unrealistic standard of perfection. Overall, I'm happy with my feedback. I saw pretty much all of that coming. Makes sense. Feel justified, validated, and I really need a haircut, and I think the fact that this video is now done means I can get a haircut and not have any like continuity errors. Very nice. So I think the plan from this point onwards is make these changes. I think I want to do one more script draft just to like polish it out fully, and I think I want to start submitting it into competitions just to like kind of get myself out there a bit. Actually, before competitions send it out to readers, I need demographic feedback, and then competitions, like make myself known. So I'm going to take many months off of this project for now because I need to recover from the horrors of 4 years of university, and next year I will graduate. I will officially have my master's, and then I'll come back to making silly little videos for YouTube. I will see you then. Goodbye.